Prisons are uninterested in forgiveness. They are uninterested in healing. They are uninterested in reconciliation.
And we perpetuate that system, and we call that system somehow public safety.
And where you start off on it makes all the difference in the world.
Every year, more than 650,000 prisoners are released from prisons in the United States. More than 75% of those released end up committing another crime and going back to jail within 5 years. This is known as recidivism. The U.S. Federal Bureau of Prisons has faced a growing lack of resources and funding, creating a detrimental environment with worsening conditions.
Our only limitation on providing programs for these inmates will be resources. As long as we have sufficient resources, we have never had adequate resources to provide all the programs for all the inmates.
Despite the alleged effectiveness in the American justice system, the need to implement rehabilitation programs is critical for reintegrating past prisoners into communities, reducing recidivism rates, and producing productive members of society. In response to concerns toward our current penal system, the introduction of rehabilitative methods in prisons has captured the interest of Congress and other governmental authorities and organizations.
Rehabilitation, rather than punishment, gives people this space to actually get there and actually grow as people.
The Second Chance Act, passed in 2007, and the First Step Act, passed in 2018, aim to improve the well-being of prisoners and reform the prison system by implementing rehabilitation programs in U.S. prisons in order to reduce recidivism. The United States is infamous for its mass incarceration and crime rates. Norway, on the other hand, is one of the Scandinavian countries famous for their low crime and recidivism rates.
Throughout their system, this is a common saying in Norway that just about everyone there knows. People go to court to be punished, and they go to prison to become better neighbors.
Unlike the United States' unjust approach of discriminatory incarceration and the punishment of their prisoners, Norway's goal is to create improved, more productive citizens by focusing on rehabilitation. The U.S. has acknowledged this and has started to make changes in their prisons that reflect Norway's penal system. One such prison is San Quentin State Prison, located in California. San Quentin is transforming from a high-security prison known for its brutality to a rehabilitation center for low-risk criminals inspired by Norwegian rehabilitation prisons.
San Quentin will be transformed, renamed even, as part of a rehabilitation effort that has never been tried on this scale in this country.
Norway has also made an impact on prisoners in the U.S. A former inmate from San Quentin State Prison, Dan Tran, visited Norwegian prisons after his release. In describing his reaction to the prisons in an interview with The Guardian, he said, "It was mind-blowing to see officers connecting with incarcerated people and treating them like humans. I noticed the amount of spaces available for rehabilitative programming. A huge woodshop, a multimedia space for podcasting, and a huge library with books in over 20 different languages. They cared about incarcerated people's education." As rehabilitation has been introduced in the present, crime rates and recidivism in the U.S. has dropped by 10%.
If we truly care about smart justice, public safety, and the health of our communities, our criminal legal system, and at the very least our correctional system, should prepare those who are confined in the most humane, comprehensive way possible to ensure their successful reentry back into society.
Not only does rehabilitation result in safer communities and help set up prisoners for success, but rehabilitating prisoners has also been proven to be more cost-effective than punishing them in prisons. A report from the Sentencing Commission states that Maryland's use of alternative sanctions has reduced the annual cost to house an offender from $20,000 to $4,000. While we still have a ways to go, rehabilitation shows promise for a better future for our prisons as well as for our prisoners. The San Quentin transformation is only one example of the new, bigger steps that are being taken toward improving our prisons. Rehabilitation will improve the U.S. justice system and our society in ways we haven't seen before. As Gavin Newsom said when announcing the transformation of San Quentin, today we take the next step in our pursuit of true rehabilitation, justice, and safer communities through this evidence-backed investment, creating a new model for safety and justice that will lead the nation. It's okay. I won't do anything to hurt you. You're so cute. You know, Mom and Dad got sick, so you're my only friend.
Kyoto, go rest.
Mom? Dad? What are you doing? Why aren't you in bed?
A shining ball of light floated into the bedroom. It shined its light at me and Papa, and suddenly I felt completely well.
Light. Thank you. Sports. S-P-O-R-T-S. Definition: an activity involving physical exertion and skill, in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. The Oxford Languages definition of the word sports. Examples: baseball and soccer. The NCAA oversees 24 sports, and the Olympics presents 40 sports, but each sport is a little different, and there's one that will please almost everyone. But not everyone can play those sports, for unfair and unequal reasons. Sports provide today's youth with countless benefits. While the obvious ones may be that sports are fun and keep kids physically healthy, digging below the surface uncovers so many more important benefits that sports provide. Health Direct, an Australian government health information source, shares that sports help adolescents grow skills in navigating the good and bad of life, through experiences such as wins and losses. Sports help children learn to control their emotions in a healthy way and become resilient. Channeling feelings is a crucial life skill that sports help develop. Also, according to Health Direct, playing a team sport develops important disciplines such as cooperation, selflessness, and listening skills. In team sports, adolescents are expected to follow the rules, accept decisions, and take directions. Playing sports at a young age builds community and pro-social skills. Results of a study by the National Institute of Health states that sports activities can improve children and adolescents' pro-social behaviors. Even when not participating in team-based sports, adolescents can develop social skills through competition and community. All of these benefits and many more are ways sports shape kids and young adults. Some kids who play sports may develop more advanced social and emotional skills at a younger age, and those who don't may feel behind. So, why can't everyone play sports? As said earlier, almost everyone can find a sport they enjoy. Even people with disadvantages or different abilities can play sports such as wheelchair basketball. The problem is, not everyone can afford sports. To show the deep inequality in who can play sports and who can't, a Sports and Fitness Industry Association survey that was conducted in 2021 found that only 24% of 6 to 12-year-old kids from households that brought in $35,000 or less per year played sports. In contrast, those from homes with $100,000 salaries
saw 40% of children participate in sports. Why are sports so expensive? According to the New York Times, sports are expensive simply because they can be. With the potential for billions of dollars to be made, the youth sports industrial complex became more expensive and demanding, says Jessica Groves in her article, Why So Many Kids Are Priced Out of Youth Sports. The real cost of sports. So what do sports really cost? The truth is, it varies from sport to sport. Some of the most expensive sports tend to be ice hockey, field hockey, gymnastics, lacrosse, and skiing, while baseball, in comparison, is less costly. Another extremely expensive sport is the second most popular sport for adolescents in the U.S. Although soccer equipment isn't extremely expensive, according to Annie Schoen, a soccer registration in the U.S. can start in some cities at $500 and others at $1,500. As of fall 2022, Project Play found the average annual cost for a child playing soccer was $1,180. We hear from one soccer parent about what sports cost for them.
Club or travel team is close to $3,000.
Sports are such an important part of development for adolescents, and it is crucial that the ability to play sports is not determined by income levels. Unfortunately, that is where we are today. Some kids are left out of sports because of high pricing. It is time to fix this, and to do that, everyone needs to participate. Leagues, teams, and coaches need to supply easy-to-access scholarships. Parents who have the means can enroll their children in recreational programs. Supporting these programs help them give scholarships to low-income families.
Every day, our school bus drives along Eastern Avenue, the border between Silver Spring, Maryland and Washington, D.C., passing by yard signs stating statehood for the people of D.C., and cars with taxation without representation license plates parked along the side of the road. The yard signs were initially an afterthought, but after passing by them every day for multiple years, we decided to look a little further. We wondered why, if people from both sides of the street pay taxes and serve in the military, why does only one side of the street have full federal representation while the other doesn't? As students in a suburb of Washington, D.C., our lives are filled with national politics, so we set out to learn more. We learned that for decades, politicians have been fighting for and against D.C. statehood without coming to a consensus on how to resolve the issue. So, we're left wondering, is there a chance things will ever change, or will we always be stuck with inequality at the heart of our nation? The origins of the creation of a federal district go back hundreds of years. At the time of the writing of the Constitution, D.C. was meant to serve only as a legislative and federal district to serve as the seat of the government. However, the population of D.C. has increased by hundreds of thousands, and the mindset that left D.C. without representation doesn't still apply today.
People who live in DC are just like you and me. You know, we've got doctors and lawyers. My wife's a fourth grade teacher. We've got people who, work on the metro system and just are doing normal day-to-day jobs. And they happen to live on one side of the DC border from you all. And because of that, we don't have representation in Congress, and it's crazy. And just reminding folks that DC isn't just some magical place where it's only people that you see on the national news, but it's, people who are just living their day-to-day lives, just like in your community. And because of where we happen to fall on the map, we end up being treated completely differently.
1973's Home Rule Act gave the residents of D.C. a city government which allowed the city's population to have some control over themselves.
Well, the council didn't really have full authority to do anything until we got Home Rule. So now we are able to pass laws on the complete range of issues that governments have to deal with.
Home Rule in 1973 was an important start in the fight for D.C. residents to gain rights, but it didn't completely resolve the issue. Congress still has the ability to override any decisions made by the council, and the residents of D.C. still don't have a vote in Congress.
So I think the Free DC movement has translated directly into the statehood movement and the hands-off DC movement.
And so while we have home rule and don't have a say in Congress, Congress still has the ability to tell us and tell our local officials who have been elected by us what they can and can't do on decisions that impact all of our lives.
A significant part of why DC statehood is so necessary is the racial justice factor.
DC is currently 46% black and brown, formerly 76% black and brown. And what we understand is that the nuances of systemic racism here in the country has led to places where black voices are normally just not heard. And so this seems like a cease and desist on the black voice by not allowing it to have a voice in our nation's Congress. DC will be the largest black voting plurality in Congress if it were a state. So it's just no question that this is a form of racism against black and brown people.
Additionally, the people of the District of Columbia largely want to become the 51st state.
And so we ran another ballot referendum on DC statehood in 2016. So we'd have a nice recent one there. And folks voted overwhelmingly. 86% of people in DC who voted said, yes, we want to be a state.
While there are many reasons for DC to become the 51st state, granting statehood to the people of DC will be an incredibly hard challenge.
But our biggest challenge has been just people not even thinking about it.
I believe the foremost challenge would be the rubric that our founding fathers left with the creation of DC.
The challenge is that there are 50 states, and we need at least a majority of the states to pass legislation in the House and the Senate.
That's the struggle, and that's why residents of DC need those who don't live in the district to come out and vote for representatives and senators who will vote for statehood. We believe that the decisions of the DC Council should not be overridable by Congress, and the residents of DC deserve congressional representation the same as those who don't live in DC.
Everybody deserves the right to self-governance. Everybody deserves the right to vote, and everybody deserves the right to decide their own future.
My progressive ideas were that I rather rejected my upbringing in Detroit, Michigan, where most everyone were immigrants, but mostly Eastern European immigrants. It seemed like the world was divided up in a way that seemed artificial to me. And when I voiced things about it, my parents were threatened that somehow it was going to make me different, unpopular, maybe make them unpopular. And I was basically told, well, you'll learn better when you're older. This little boy who came to school dirty, and you could tell he wanted mothering. And we got permission to take him home for weekends, and we'd buy clothes for him and clean him up. And I think his foster mother eventually became threatened that I was taking him, that she was going to lose this income. And we tried to adopt him. Then we were told no, that he needed his own people. He needed his own image as a black child. Even though I argued that his image as a black child was being destroyed by someone who didn't love him and abused him. And I had to change schools. I had to go teach somewhere else. We were asked by my church to become foster parents for a Vietnamese girl. We said yes. It influenced me to say yes to things. If we get asked, we think that there's a reason. We learned a lot. Then when social service said, you did a good job, can you take another kid? We kept saying yes. We didn't want to be the white saviors, but we loved kids. We also learned to cook the food these children liked and planted the Cambodian lemongrass and the Vietnamese basil. And the Ethiopian kale is already out there. Assume you know nothing. Each kid is different. They're angry at their parents, they miss their parents, You know, if somebody's in jail or on drugs or they were abused, they still love their parents. We had to be careful about what our role was. We didn't do it to be loved. We cared about what kids were going through.
You want me? Les? Come on, join me.
Wait a minute. She's going.
People are pretty nice, but there are two types of people. People that try to take advantage and people that walk on eggshells around you. Before I was in a wheelchair, I used to drive everywhere I need to go. Now I take the bus or the metro. Bus drivers skip me once in a while. Oh, they have to put out a ramp for you. You have to go up the ramp and then they have to put in the ramp. So it takes about 2 extra minutes. People just pass sometimes because they don't want to deal with the extra time it takes to pick me up. I've seen them pass me up because they're going too fast. They just speed past the bus stop. They can always see me because sometimes there's a sun glare off their windshield and I'm lower than the normal person.
Easy to use.
I would like if there was a light on the bus stop that I could press so people know they need to stop. They can look at the light and just know if they need to stop or not. I think this country's a lot better than other countries. Like in England, the trains were sometimes like 2 feet different from the platform. But here they have airlocks so they can raise and lower the train. And there's always within a couple inches of the platform. Sometimes the elevators don't work. And for scheduled maintenance, there's a website where you can look at the scheduled maintenance. But if it's just for the day, or I just found out about a problem, sometimes you get to the metro station and they're not working. And then you're out of luck.
My name is David Radcliffe, Radcliff. I am a writer. I have cerebral palsy. Specifically, my type of cerebral palsy is called spastic diplegia, which means the 2 limbs are affected. So my 2 limbs that are affected are my legs. And that, in my particular case, my hamstrings are tight, so my leg doesn't extend all the way. So sometimes that can come with pain in my hamstrings or my knees, and I use crutches or a wheelchair to get around, depending on the environment. A few years ago, a reporter from the LA Times followed me around for the day because she wanted to learn more about my experience with public transportation. And I went over a bump, and all of a sudden I was flying out of my chair, and the photographer took pictures of me flying through the air. My consent was given by the nature of me doing the story and them following me around. They took probably 40 pictures that day of me. They were really cool, but that one, I knew that one was going to get used as soon as it was taken. Really not a great situation, especially if you have a job that you have to get to. I think a lot of times people forget that some disabled people work and they need to be to appointments on time, and so you can't just lose half an hour or an hour of your day like that and not have an impact. A constant challenge that I have is trying to gently remind people that disability is not something for other people, it's something for everyone. So on average, everyone will live with 7 years of a disability in their life. things can change in a positive direction for disabled people. There's, really not much reflection of us on screens, on TV or in movies, and very often you don't see us in workplaces, and I think that's a real problem, but I do think that there are also signs of change. I think, I wish more people recognized the sort of strength that comes from disability and the kind of community that can come from disability. And, some of my favorite people in my life, I would only know because I'm disabled. And so I think a challenge that I have is trying to help people see that the reality of disability is going to be part of their life at some point, whether through age or accident or illness. And that's okay. And the best thing to do is prepare for it.
Just the built environment can be such a barrier to people. One day I went out with my friend and we were trying to go to a restaurant. We walked down the street and we got like 2 blocks away from my house. It was a little row home in Baltimore City. 2 blocks away from my house, and we had to turn back because we couldn't cross the street to go to the restaurant. So just little things like road repairs or a pothole can be all the difference in whether or not somebody can get to their destination or not. So we have so much work to do when it comes to making our built environment accessible. I work at Disability Rights Maryland as an advocate. Here at Disability Rights Maryland, we are a pro bono legal firm that is part of the country's protection and advocacy system. So one of the problems that we see a lot in Central Maryland is with the MTA, Maryland Transit Administration Mobility Link service, is we see a lot of late pickups and late drop-offs for the paratransit service. So that means that the paratransit system, which is the complementary alternative to fixed route service, it means that people are getting stranded while they're waiting for the mobility link vehicle, and sometimes being left all night wherever they ended up. We had one incidence of a woman in Baltimore City who ended up on the street all night in her power chair because Mobility Link didn't pick her up. For advocacy, when you're doing advocacy, it's important to have like a link and a connection that's really authentic to the community that you're advocating for. Nothing about us without us is a slogan of the disability community, and it's like that when it comes to transportation too. Best help people with disabilities with transportation. You support them with what they're advocating for. I'm not in a wheelchair right now, but I was in a wheelchair when I was younger, and I think because I have a disability that impairs my movement, I feel like the ultimate freedom is to be able to move, period. And so that's why transportation is so important, is because it gives people that freedom. Without that, what's life?
How many people do you think are affected by food insecurity in the USA?
A quarter of the people in the United States.
90 million?
20 million?
Of the 332 million people in the United States, 44 million face food insecurity,
including 13 million children.
Unfortunately, this issue has been on the rise. Food insecurity increased from 10.2% in 2021 to 12.8% in 2022.
with COVID-19 and rising prices being the main contributors. In 2018, a gallon of milk was $2.90. In 2022, it increased to $3.90. A dozen of eggs was $1.70 in 2018, and in 2022, that increased to $2.86.
A loaf of bread was $1.90 in 2018, and in 2022, it increased to $2.40. For low-income families, these drastic increases in price for necessities can damage their ability to afford nutritious food.
It really is fundamentally an economic issue. The biggest driver that we've seen is, food costs are going up and sort of those food pressures are going up as well. You can just picture any number of single individuals or families who are really on an economic edge.
We asked our clients, is Food and Friends your only source of food? Only 16% of people said Food and Friends is my only source of food. This year, 44% of our clients said that Food and Friends was their only source of food.
Moreover, the lack of healthy food options and affordable groceries in low-income communities exacerbates the issue and contributes to food deserts.
You will see that those areas are filled with much more fast food or 7-Eleven places or things like that where you're not getting a healthy, nutritious meal compared to the other places where people have, higher income, so they're able to afford the Whole Foods, the farmers markets, and things of that nature.
It really is an issue of equity.
Struggling. This is a time of very low unemployment, but very high demand at food distributions organized by local church pantries and local food banks.
Small Things Matter is one of these organizations working towards recovering food and combating food insecurity. Today, we're volunteering with the Grace family on one of their weekly trips to restock food pantries.
Today we're going to be doing a food rescue at Trader Joe's Bethesda for Small Things Matter.
Today we have meat and mixed vegetable salads, fruit. We have 20 boxes.
The first one will be SJ, which is where the frozen foods go out to because they have 2 fridges. We'll also be going to Slade, which is where 2 boxes will be going, and those are usually just produce or bread or stuff that doesn't need to be refrigerated.
We're going to be taking a picture of the delivery here, and we send a copy of the picture to the owner of the house, and that person has a Facebook page or a WhatsApp page, and they submit it there. And everybody who's in need in the neighborhood knows what food is here and they can come and pick it up.
And then the majority of the food, which is about 80%, will be going to Ward 5. And what's special about those is that those are 3 members of the community who donate part of their house to store food.
It is because of organizations and volunteers like these that we are able to make such great progress so far.
I founded Rise and Shine Foundation, and our mission is to reduce food waste in our community. If they're not eating it during lunch, we can instead donate it to those facing food insecurity.
Wood Lane Orchard collects surplus produce, we dehydrate it and turn it into shelf-stable soups and meals.
And I work at Miriam's Kitchen. So we started as a soup kitchen, providing food assistance to people experiencing homelessness.
However, the government needs to take more action in order to support these community organizations in their mission.
We have a little bit of federal funding. It's less than 5%.
Very thin margin of profit in it. Engaging the farmers is a real issue.
Should even be federal requirements for how many locally produced kind of markets or in a community or in an area, anything like that to incentivize fresh, locally grown produce and healthier options.
We hope to see America focus more on combating food insecurity through
federal food recovery programs, policies that protect community organizations saving food, and incentives for grocery stores in food deserts. So what can you do to help?
You can support local food banks, volunteer with organizations like Small Things Matter, and contribute your extra food to community pantries.
Let's work together to combat food insecurity.
Another short corner here. Sancho. Well, the bar can be the goalkeeper's best friend. Oh, it strikes the bar. Well, moving towards the end of the first half and City chasing the game here. Stuart, what have you made of the performance so far?
Play but a small role.
Hey, if everyone in Omashu were as dedicated as you, this war would be over. The Fire Nation would be on their knees by now.
Yes. Yes, 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 yes.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
Well, we have our own.
The mechanism on that sorting machine is spring-powered and genius. I should have done that with our kayak racks back home.
Create the life you want to live. You just have to be intentional about it. Being 19 made me realize that precious time privileges youth. Born out the womb with an outlook on life, a first breath to take in the moment, an atmosphere surrounded by love, laughter, and light. Year one will come fast, so get ready to take flight when the countdown begins, from your mother's arms to the real world. 2, 3, believe your dreams and be what you see. 4, 5, freedom will find your inner child to explore community. 6, create until content. Sing out loud, write your thoughts, draw your imagination, and watch it become what you make it. 7, independence ignites your stubbornness. Values keep you grounded. 8, 9, friends and foes will come and go. 10, a decade counting. Now dance to the beat of your heart and desires. 11, live out loud in your stylish way to break society's mold. 12, 13, use the voice inside you to spark a passion of purpose. 14, visualize yourself beyond ordinary. Dreamers do and deal with the future. 15, 16, come into your own to celebrate your truth. 17, take risks now so you don't regret later. 18, listen to your calling. 19, take this pursuit to the next level and soar in your 20s.